Well, there's nothing normal about constantly telling people how much money you make. That's not normal. And we're not actually liberating women. So if we want to look at this and have a real conversation, the conversation would be a liberated, wealthy woman does not need to prove herself to anybody. Her
Yeah.
sheer existence is the proof and validation.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, loves, get ready to get loved up on. Get ready to be poured into. Get ready to just hear that you are an amazing person the way you are. And that oftentimes we are just sitting on the sidelines and the world is wanting us to jump on in, wants us to stand out, be ourselves more. And you're like, how do I do that? So I'm so excited for our guest this week. Her name is Jen Szpigiel. She's also known as Jen Being Iconic. And first of all, who doesn't love that name? She's done so much in her life, and her journey has really led her to us, but also has allowed her not only to learn for herself and to teach her children, but to teach other business owners and women business owners that they can have it all. And I know that sounds terrible. Like you're like, I can't have it all. No, but like you can. You don't have it all is very much like the word success and freedom. You get to define what that is. And it's so important that you define what that is. Oftentimes we let the world tell us what that is. And we talk about that a little bit in this episode. So I'm really excited for you to listen to her words. And she's got some great other ways for you to check up with her, learn from her, be in her world if you find what she's saying to be amazing. And I know I will be hit up on her magazine. So little spoiler alert there. So here's Jen. And then please let us know how you're going to use these tips in your life. All right, Be It Babe. I am so excited to finally get to talk to this amazing woman. You're going to hear why in just a second. But when she came across my scroll feed and I became aware of her and what she's doing, I was like, oh, well, absolutely. Yes, we have to have her on the pod. So Jen from Becoming Iconic, can you tell everyone who you are and what you're rocking at?
Yeah. Hey, Lesley, thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, I really do appreciate the opportunity to be with you and with everybody listening. So thank you again. So who am I? It's such an interesting question, isn't it? Because as a woman, I'm sure you can attest we're many things.
Yeah.
I know for me, my greatest title of all is I'm a mom. I'm a mom of four. I've been raising babies and businesses for now 18 years. And it has been my life's purpose, my fulfillment really is being all of myself while also being available to my family. And I feel like I live the best of both worlds. And it's what I love to teach now. Becoming Iconic is sort of born from that, this idea that I had fostered in my life of this pursuit of the fullest version of myself, this pursuit of being better every single day. And sometimes that meant in my parenting, sometimes that meant something in my relationship, and a lot of times that meant something in my business, my leadership. And so I put words to that. It's like the becoming and that iconic version of ourselves, that one that we're so proud of, the one where we have done all the things that we were meant to do, and we've spread our wings and we have really lived out our capacity.
Okay. So I'm sure there's so much to dive in and do because also you're a mom of four. So the fact that you are a mom of four and you said raising businesses and babies. So I'm sure every mom listening, which we have many, is like, oh my gosh, how does she balance it all?
Right.
And and I'm always like, balance is the art of not falling. So sometimes you do. And I don't even
Yeah.
have kids, but I do want to dive into, were you a mom and then you started doing the business thing? Were you doing the business thing and then became a mom? Kind of which came first and how did you incorporate the other?
Yeah. So I had a huge marketing career at a very young age. I went to school for fashion and public relations, and I fell into the fashion industry and quickly got ate for breakfast. It was just not the right place for me for many reasons. I didn't have the confidence, and I certainly didn't have the poise and posture to hold myself in a very well, I could have a lot of things to say about the fashion industry, but I love fashion, maybe not the industry to
Everyone
work
has seen
into
The
it.
Devil Wears Prada. I think they all feel like
Uh,
Andrea
uh-huh.
sometimes.
Yeah. You gotta have a pretty thick skin and a big backbone to last in that industry. So I just decided I loved fashion, I loved style, and I could do that for myself. And I pivoted into marketing for quite a large corporation and grew exponentially. And then I had a baby. So I was in that phase where most moms find themselves of feeling like I had to let go of something. I could not be an exceptional mom and thrive in this career. In this career, I was traveling all over the world. I was, holding millions and millions of dollars in budget and marketing plans. So how could I bring these two worlds together? I didn't see it. And there was no evidence around me. I either saw women leave their jobs to stay home or choose their jobs and have their kids in daycare and constantly complain about it. So I made the decision to be home with my daughter because I thought, well, that's the obvious choice for me because you only get this experience once. The career could potentially be there in the future. And I completely lost myself. I
Mm.
became that sweatpant mom. There were days I didn't even brush my teeth. There were days I didn't get out of my pajamas. This was not who I was. And I felt like I had severed one of the biggest parts of me, my soul, my essence, the goals I had, the things I wanted to achieve. And I felt so torn and conflicted because I had this precious face looking back at me and I didn't want to leave her either.
Yeah.
And so entrepreneurship was my answer to prayer. Like it was not something I was seeking. And when it was introduced to me as a concept, like, what if you did something at home and built something from your computer? I thought that's something you could do. And so I hit the ground running. It was ignorance on fire. And I scaled a massive business with then two kids and then have continued to have kids and continued to grow businesses ever since.
Okay, so I do thank you for sharing that journey because I think I have a girlfriend who's kind of making that decision right now and I can just watch it like just eat at her that she's like I'm not ready to leave the job but I'm also want to be home but like also at home it's like when did I get a shower? So
Yeah.
sometimes having the job forces you to brush your teeth, put some
Mhm.
clothes on. But and so I think it's interesting. Like, not everyone gets to make that decision that you did, where you're like, I'm just going to go all in on being a mom. And then you're like, whoa, that was a pendulum too far. Um, I think I do love entrepreneurship. I'm very much proudly unemployable. However, um, what, what was the process in your brain? Someone suggested you do something from your computer. Like, what was the process where you're like, okay, what's an idea that I have? Like, kind of how is that be it till you see it moment? Because I think sometimes, especially the listeners we have, they can be really hard on themselves. They think it's already been done. Like they're looking for something that's never been done before. And I'm like, well, actually, like you can do something that's already been done. But what was your process?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think we can come up with a million reasons why not to do something. That is so easy. That's like the cult of average. Let's find the reasons why we can't do something. We'll live in that and we'll be martyrs and victims for the rest of our lives and think that we gave up and we were selfless in raising these children. This is the narrative and the image and the example we've been given for so long. And I literally stand to eradicate that. Women do not need to sacrifice anything in order to achieve, have, and do all the things they want to do. I believe that firmly. Why? Because I am doing it. I am the evidence. If someone's looking for it, I'm the evidence. It's never perfect, but I am certainly on the journey of progression. And I can say my life, like if you were to come in my home, it is what I show online. It's beautiful, it's exquisite, but it's been 17 years of a journey. And it took the bravery and the bold, audacious step just to start. And so I
Mm.
started with marketing. I started with the thing that I had experience in. It was natural for me. So I started doing some consulting. That consulting turned into me wanting to just teach spin classes at a gym. I thought, you know what? I'm going anyway. I might as well get a free membership and get some pay. So I started teaching spin classes that led me into health and wellness. I grew a massive health and wellness business by simply teaching spin classes and aligning with a product that I loved. And that was a fantastic. And it was like now a profession of pivoting. I mean, that's what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah.
It's the most incredible gift.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that it's not ever perfect.
Never,
I
never.
think it's so easy for us to look at other people. And I also love that you start with what you knew. And you went all in on that. And it's sometimes I find that people go, well, I have to learn this thing. Once I learn this thing, then I can go do that thing. We just kind of keep pushing the goalpost so far that's unachievable. So you were able to do that. you kept having kids along the way and you've changed the pivot. So what are you what are you excited about right now? Like, what is it that you're working on? Obviously you're Jen from Becoming Iconic. So what does that look like?
It's so beautiful actually how it's unraveling and unfolding, and my clients keep calling me into something that I'm talking about often now, which is womanhood.
Mhm.
And womanhood encompasses all of us. And I, as a certified life coach, I'm a certified health coach, and I've been building businesses for 17 years, not only myself, but hundreds globally. And so I have the portfolio, if you want to call it, the resume that would support the expertise. But there's also life journey. I've gone through a divorce since then. I've remarried, I've reinvented myself. I've gone through crisis. And so all of those things start to compound to add into this incredible gift of wisdom. And so becoming iconic is that this place where women come where they want to grow businesses, but they do not want to grow a business and lose sight of their family, or they want
Mm.
to be, it's like this feeling of like, is it possible to have it all, Jen? Yes, it is. And I really believe in womanhood in terms of liberation and expansion. And what we're seeing online is not liberation and expansion. And it's really confusing for a lot of people because we're seeing people constantly share their income, constantly share their revenue. Like that's their point of validation. Most of it is not even truth. Okay. Most of it is not the full picture or full story, but we're buying into it and we're participating in it as though that is the epitome of success. But I'm telling you right now, the epitome of success is fulfillment. Are you waking up every day happy,
Yeah.
excited, pursuing yourself? Then that will be what fills your cup, not commas in the bank account. And again, most of the time, that's not even the full story or the truth.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because I remember one of the first coaching groups I was in, my coach had mentioned that she would see these people say, "Oh, I had this like six-figure launch. I had this like seven-figure launch, whatever." The guys, that just means that they opened cart. They like said, "Okay, I'm starting to sell something on day one," and then they close it on another day so that there's like a sense of urgency, and then they can say, "I made this much money on this time." Which can be very impressive. We've done launches here, Brett and I do them all the time, and it is so fun to see what
Yeah.
what comes out of it. What they are not telling you is the 6 months, 1 year of work that is payroll, that is team, that is hours that led to that product, that thing being made. And then they're also not telling you how much money they spent on ads. So some people spend $80,000 on ads, they to make $100,000. $20,000 is nothing a bad at, but if your payroll's $30,000 a month, you didn't make any money.
Amen. But see, we don't know that, or a lot of people don't understand that. And it's like this flashy, shiny syndrome of like, oh my goodness, this person made, and they're telling you down to the dollar, which is always so puzzling to me. Cause I'm like, there's something there if you're actually giving the like specific dollar amount. What are you justifying? I mean, and the thing is we're saying we're making wealth and women, we're making this, we're normalizing it. We want to make sure that women have all of the access to all of these things. Well, there's nothing normal about constantly telling people how much money you make. That's not normal. And we're not actually liberating women. So if we want to look at this and have a real conversation, the conversation would be a liberated, wealthy woman does not need to prove herself to anybody.
Yeah.
Her sheer existence is the proof and validation.
Yeah, I think you're right on the nose there. I think intent is really important. So if you are someone who's like, Leslie, I'm telling people how much I made because I want them to know it's possible, then I would just check the intent there. That is that coming through? Or if you're just telling people to brag, like I make this much, I am therefore successful, it's very different. Because I do think like I would love women to know what is possible, but
Yes.
but I don't think that that means that's what's successful, because you listening to this, maybe all you to be fulfilled, to like have the lifestyle you want to live, maybe it is only 5,000 a month, maybe it's 4,000, maybe
Mhm.
it's 100. I don't know. Like I don't know what your fulfillment level is, but I think that the constant pressure that like, unless you're making, I saw a reel with some guy like, on this house I made 10,000 last month and it was like $6.72. This one I made this, and I'm like, but how much was the mortgage? How much were the housekeepers? How much was the air conditioning bill? Cause I'm sure they ran it running the whole time. Like you're not giving the full picture, and then you're telling me you're successful, so I should learn from you because you've had this money. And like that's, to me, I'm on point. I'm on bar with you, because it's like we're sending people the wrong message that they're like living a balanced life.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. And I think really when it comes to mentorship and coaching and what's possible is through the results and the evidence of clients. That's what people should be paying attention to,
Mhm.
because can this person turn around and teach what they know, and by teaching and passing on the incredible success they've had, they're seeing results and their clients are having results, and the clients are proving to themselves what's possible, because maybe $100,000 a month is my goal, but for someone else, $5,000 a month would be life changing. And if all we ever talk about is the big number, we're always making people feel like they're not enough. Like
Yeah.
5,000 isn't enough. I've heard someone say the other day, they're like, well, I'm just making $8,000 a month. So, how am I going to build authority? And I had to pause them and said, you're just making $8,000 a month. There's no career in the world where you would have the flexibilities and the freedoms, the opportunity to create your day, to wear what you want, do the things you want to do for $8,000 a month, and with tax deductible expenses. There's no such thing. So when did that become something that we can't even applaud, celebrate, or be grateful for? And if we can't be grateful for 8, there's certainly no way you're going to be grateful for 80, because it's the same thing, only amplified.
Yeah. So I guess, okay, I have a question for you. Because I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why we hear like about all like the curse of the lottery, right?
Mhm.
Which is like once they win because they're not happy with the $5 they have, they're not happy with 500,000 or 5 million.
Yeah.
What what maybe it was natural to you, but like what do you do for the people? How do you teach people to be grateful for what they have? Maybe it's because
Yeah.
you're a mom of four. You're probably really good at that.
Well, and it's a practice. I think, gratitude is like celebration in motion or an act, meaning, if we can't celebrate the small things, what can we celebrate? I caught a client today. I was talking with her and we were chatting about income, and she's already fixated on next month. She just had $100,000 come in revenue in 28 days. That was her year goal. She said in 2023, I want to make $100,000. Did in 28 days, but she hadn't even paused to celebrate that. So if we can't celebrate those little things, that was a big thing, but those things, and celebration is gratitude, like sitting and pausing, sharing with someone, going out for a nice dinner, rewarding yourself with fresh flowers, sitting with a glass of champagne, if that's what you like to do, writing in a journal of how you felt in this moment so you never forget it. Those things are what ground and anchor you into wealth, because again, there's always going to be more. I remember when I made my first 7 figures, I thought, this is it. I've reached the summit. Like, this is the place where everybody's trying to get, and I've done it, and I'm putting in my flag of honor, and here I am. And you realize when you reach that summit, there's a massive mountain, a bigger mountain ahead that you have yet to climb, with a more vicious climb to take on. And there's more like that. There's always going to be more. There's always going to be that next thing. So if we can't be happy with what we have now, I don't believe we're ever going to be truly fulfilled, especially when it comes to money. And I'm passionate about this because you speak about, the lottery syndrome. I was 30 years old when I was making, $30,000, $40,000 a month in my first business. And I had no idea what to do with that. I had no financial literacy. Nobody had had that success in my family before. There was nobody around me. My friends were out partying, having a good time, going to the club. I'm at home running a business and creating this massive amount of income, because that was big. It was a big amount of money. Well, I ended up becoming $100,000 in debt. All of my credit cards maxed. My bank accounts were overdraft. I was worried about paying for groceries in the grocery lineup, and I had that much income coming into my bank account every month. How does that happen? I mean, the shame that I was soaked in, the embarrassment, the judgment I had on myself, it was incredible. But I had to go through that journey to get to the other side, because the biggest thing I had to realize was that I was great with money. I'd been holding a family of 4 on my own and put a roof over their heads, was paying for all these things for my kids to be in. So there was more evidence to show I was great, but I was living out the scarcity that I was feeling. And it really taught me about being a wealthy woman, being a woman who can hold success, because getting success is actually the easy part. Holding that success, that's
Mhm.
where you really have to put in the sweat equity. So that
Mhm.
was a huge shift and turnaround for me.
Yeah, it's thank you. Gosh, thank you for sharing that. I don't your story is is something I've heard before on just like different levels, because I do think so many of us, especially women, listen that we don't have financial literacy, but that's not what I remember being taught how to balance a checkbook in junior high, but that's like the extent of the money
Yeah.
thing that I was taught. And I was recently reading a book called like The Psychology of Money. And it was like the tools and strengths and type of person you need to be to get money is extremely different than the person you need to be to keep the money. And like what you were just saying, that's what resonated with me. It's like once I had the success, the person I became to get to the success point on the mountain is one person. To hold yourself up there on this peak forever and ongoing is a whole different type of strength. It's a different type of skill set. It's a different type of psychology, because you have to go from like, I got to get more, to like, oh, I have enough. And that's a really complicated light switch to turn.
It is. It really is. You're absolutely right, because there's a lot of us who are really good at hustle and grind and work ethic. I'm one of those. I love to work. Like I love it. So getting to that success was not difficult at all. Holding that success, being in leadership of that, being a steward of my money, knowing that I had to save for taxes. Nobody taught me those things. What do you mean you're going to get taxed? And then when I got my $80,000 tax bill, I mean, I was floored. I was sick to my stomach. I didn't know what to do. Hence all the debt that I got into, because I had more, like once that tax bill came in, I had more debt than I did cash flow. And so I was putting things on credit cards. I was living beyond my means. I was putting on the persona of uber successful, doing all the things you're supposed to do to show how successful you are, so that clients want to come in and be coached by you and mentored by you. And so much of it was out of integrity. And I'm just owning my journey. It was a point in my journey, and it taught me a lot of things. It taught me that my integrity is the most important thing to me, more than anything else. And I will never negotiate that or waver in that ever again to prove or validate myself to the outside world. And no amount of money,
Yeah.
is worth that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's it's an interesting thing, the story that we tell ourselves about the mistakes we've made or the things we go through. Because first of all, like, you're not the first person to get stuck with a tax bill that they didn't know was coming. And
Right.
unfortunately, and like, unless things change, you won't be the last, because people just don't. I'll tell you right now, it's a joke. I coach a bunch of Pilates instructors, and somebody was like, "Oh, I have to file this thing with the city." I'm like, every state, every county is different on how you can start your own business. And I said, "Well, that sounds complicated. This is how it worked in LA. I got a thing in the mail that says, 'We think you're running a business in this town. Here's your bill.'" And I was like, "Okay, cool. Well, thanks for doing the work for me." This sounds fine.
Yeah.
$100. Sure. You can have, sure. And then every year I was like to my accountant, I'm like, "I think I have this thing to do." He's like, "Yeah, you do."
Yeah. And you know what? So many of us, it's like that true ignorance on fire. We don't know, and you don't know until you know. And then once you know, you have a choice to make. You can continue down the road of staying in this sticky, messy middle that we all have to do, or learning the lessons, applying them, and doing things differently. And that's what I had to do to get myself out of it. I just had to do things differently. But as soon as I acknowledged myself, and as soon as I realized who I wanted to be in that moment versus who I was being, everything changed. Like I had $14,000 drop into my bank account of found money. I'll never forget the moment. It's my first like vivid memory of a miracle or manifestation, where
Mhm.
I was at this point where I want to turn my financial situation around. I had these 4 kids. I'm responsible for them and their home and their well-being. And I thought, I'm changing the dialogue. And that's when I started realizing, like, wait, I've been holding 4 kids and a home, and sure, I haven't done it responsibly, but I've done it. And that same day that I shifted my narrative, I had a phone call from a company I was an ambassador for, and they said, "We owe you $14,000. Now, my first initial reaction was, again, shame, guilt, embarrassment. How do I not know this? See, I'm irresponsible. Who doesn't know their $14,000 of money owed like this? I went into that, but I caught myself in that moment. I said, we don't do that anymore. Instead, we're going to say, more, please. Thank you. Of course, money flows into my life. And there was no turning back. That was a catalyst moment for me in my life. And I've received miracles and magic ever since.
I love this. Okay, have you ever read the book E Squared?
No.
Okay, E Squared, y'all. I've talked about it before on this podcast. I fucking love this book. I rebought it because I'd given it away and I'm like, why did I do that? So I love this book so much. Every quarter I like start the process again. I don't always get through because I sometimes like, you start to remind yourself how to live in that manifestation. And this is not the woo-woo stuff, this like scientific guys. But I get through the different projects. And so one of the first thing is like you just tell the universe to like, show me that you're real. And like I kid you not, the most recent time I did it, I was like, okay, I lit my candle, I did a little manifestation meditation, like show me that you're real. You got 48 hours. I opened up my inbox and I had 3 brand new members, full annual membership on OPC. You guys, we hadn't promoted anything. I don't actually like do it. I don't say anything. They're like, hey, take this class. Like I don't really. So I was like, what in the world? I was like, okay, you have 47 more hours to go. Keep coming. But like when you do change the narrative, you start to look for evidence that things are out there, that things are coming your way. And real quick story, one of the chapters on the whole thing that you can like show that you can work with the universe in this way was like I had to write 2 people's names down that had my number, they had my contact information. We knew each other, but I wasn't expecting their call. So meaning like, it wasn't like, oh, I'll call you next week. None of that. So I had written down at the time, I'm married to the guy now, but we were not dating. I wrote his name down and I wrote this woman who worked in the New York office of the company I worked for. And I worked in the LA office. So, and just like one of at the clubs, like not even like corporate, right? And I wrote her name down because I wanted her to pick me to be in another video that they did. And I'd been transferred locations. I'm leaving my new location. I'm walking down the stairs. I have a text message from Brad, like out of the blue. And as I'm walking down the stairs going, oh my God, I look up, she's coming up the stairs, you guys. She's like, oh, I was looking for you. I was hoping I'd run into you at this. I was like, I'm at a different gym. I'm not even at the gym that she knew I was at. So like when you can get really clear on what you want, it's kind of shocking, like how things conspire for you.
100%. We're always gathering evidence. I think that's the most incredible story, first of all. I'm getting that book and I'm doing those things because there's certain people I'd love to have call me Oprah. And
Oprah, you can call us.
I've got this magazine. You don't anymore. We could do something. But anyway, anyway, but I think that's incredible because those are the things that we need to hold on to. Hope is so important. But if we're in scarcity, we're always going to look for evidence of why money isn't enough. I mean, that's all I did. I gathered evidence all the time of being broke, not having enough money, more month, not paying for groceries. It was constant. Why? Because that was the narrative. That was the dialogue. That's what I was seeking. As soon as I shifted my attention, it was like, oh, it's like universe gets to flirt with you. It's like, oh, there you are. You want to go out and hang out? I'll flirt with you. I'll give you what you want. And it's such a relief, I think, for everybody involved, for source, for ourselves, for those we're around, because now we're in like this incredible energy of abundance and beauty and flirtation and curiosity. And I don't know, that's how I want to live out my days.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to like look at things like that all the time because that's where the beauty lies.
Okay. So I'm so with you. I would love for you, if you don't mind, and maybe you don't have it off the top of your head, but if you have any parts of it, how did you at the time, or how are you now being it till you see and like trying to live out your days working with the source, working with abundance? Like, what does that look like for you? Because I think there's somebody listening going, I want to live in abundance. Do I have to go buy this book? Maybe, but also there might be some steps you could take right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a great thing that you're asking because manifestation is being taught that like what you think about, you bring about. And there is a truth, but that's 50% of the equation. They're not giving you the rest of the formula. And so with manifestation, living with source, expecting the best, wanting abundance, wanting to feel that flow and ease, that you're supported, that the dreams that you desire are not just these elusive thoughts, but are actually your reality if you want it bad enough. So have that desire, have that deep like yearning for it. Like, this is what I desire. This is what I want. But you've got to meet that with action. Like there's a misunderstood version out there right now, especially with this feminine energy movement. It's unfortunate because I know why it's happening. Everybody's burnt out from hustle culture. But what we've done is we've like wanted to sever our ties to masculine energy. We've associated masculine energy with hustle culture. That's not true. And masculine energy is so imperative to your success and to who you are as a whole person. So you can't cut that off in order to be more feminine. It's just the inviting in of the more feminine side. And so that actioning is where I believe that desire, thinking, imagining, wanting to acquire, envisioning, and then meeting that with actioning, becoming the person who can invite that in. Who is she? What is she moving like? What decisions is she making? What choices is she making? She's not making the same choices you would make today because you're probably still in some sort of scarcity. But if she's living out that dream, what does she eat? How does she move? How does she greet people? How does she speak? What is she wearing? Invite those things in today and action every day. Pursue that. When those two things collide, boom, you have manifestation, you have miracles, you have things brought to you at like warp speed. And it is fascinating and it is so incredible. What I do to invite that in is a lot of visualization. So I do spend a lot of time, especially at the beginning of my day, of thinking of who I'm becoming, that the whole becoming iconic, that iconic version of myself. Who is she? What is she doing? Who's she spending time with? What is she doing with her family? Where are we traveling? What are we eating? What does the house look like? It's everything, all the components. And then I ask myself, I'm going to make decisions. I request, and I don't ask, I request myself to make all my decisions today from that version.
Mm.
Because she would make wiser, more audacious, bold decisions because she's more assured and confident because she's created it than
Mhm.
I would today with still those fears and wonders. So I do that. And I also spend a lot of time in space and time alone as a mom of four. And even if you're not a mom, as women, we are givers. We love to give of ourselves, our time, our energy. You're building businesses. You've got clients. You got this, you got that. So we're constantly giving, but when do we give to ourselves? So that is the very first thing I do in my day. No compromising. Nobody comes in my zone. Somebody wakes up early. They know it's my holy hour. I need a minute to myself to contemplate and dream and hear guidance and be intuitive and spark my day so that I'm ahead versus
Mhm.
my day chasing me.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the morning being like for you. There's got to be some part of it. We had a guest on who was like 30 minutes is 2% of your day. Like, can you just give yourself 2% of your day? Like, so that you
Yes.
can be out there for other people. And I think women, especially, that is, they feel guilty about that for whatever reason. I don't even know where that message came from. It's like generations old. Um, like seriously. And then I loved how you shared the being it of that person because that's exactly why this podcast exists. One of the questions I was always getting was like, how are you so confident? I'm like, I am often just like you can't see it, but I'm like that person who's just like, wee, like just like I'm just gonna go for it. I'm a little scared, arms up, roller coaster ride. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's hope we land. So I was like, so clearly you think I'm confident, but inside I'm like, I'm shaking in my boots. So what am I doing? And one of those things was, as I was tired of hearing myself, I don't know how, I don't know how, I wish I knew how, I don't know how. And
Mhm.
cause I was starting my own business and I was like, I don't know how to do this. No one in my family started a business. And I hated this. It felt like an excuse. It's like a complaint. I don't mind a complaint the first time, but the second and third time, now you're just listen to yourself talk. We got it. Like it's bothering you and it's a highlighter of something to do. So I started asking myself, well, like, what if I did know? If I did know how, what would I what would I do? And you start to go, oh, well, people who know how to run a business, they have to have people they delegate to. So maybe I just need to delegate some things I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I have to delegate myself to learn these things, whatever it is. But it's that acting as if, and you eventually all of a sudden you wake up and you are that person. You're not trying to be it anymore. It just, they come together, emerges much closer and much sooner than you think than if you're just waiting and wonder. It could happen. You wouldn't even know if it hit you in the face though, because just like even in the beginning when you're making all this money, because of the scarcity mindset stuff, it didn't stick. So I really appreciate you sharing that because I feel like that's something you guys could rewind and listen again.
Well, and you also just said something really powerful, important, because people wait for the feeling first before they action. So when I feel more confident, then I will. When I feel more like an expert, then I will. And they're waiting for these feelings to come first, and they never come first. You're probably looked at as confident. Why? Because you're willing to action. You're willing to go before you're ready. And when you do those actions, that is the thing that backs you up with confidence, because you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
You follow through. You know that if this doesn't work, I'll pick myself up. I'll do it a different way. I'll try again. That's how you become a confident person. But I'll tell you right now, 95% of the world population is on the sidelines, looking in the arena, so hungry to participate and be in there. They want to play so badly, but they're waiting to feel ready. When I feel more ready, then I will. I hear it every single day, and it's heartbreaking, because that will never come first. You're never going to be ready to be a mom. You're never going to be ready to launch that next program. You're never going to be ready to pivot in your business. You're never going to be ready to quit your job and start entrepreneurship. That perfect day and all the stars aligning is never going to happen. It's, are you willing to bet on yourself? And when you are, then you will feel confident.
Ooh, I could keep talking to you forever, but I love that. I think people need to keep that right there.
You said it.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. We're not going to let you go though. We're going to take a brief break, find out where people can find you, follow you, become iconic with you, and then your beat action items. All right, Jen. So this has been amazing. Love everything you said. If people want to work with you, find you, stalk you a little bit more in the kind way, where do they go?
Well, it's really easy to find me, Becoming Iconic, and becomingiconic.co is the website if they're interested in checking out the magazine, the podcast, different ways of working with me if that is of interest. But I do recommend the podcast because it's free, and you can really get to know who I am and what I stand for and the different areas of expertise that I have. And then I also am a massive fan of my magazine, Becoming Iconic. It's like Forbes meets Vogue. The digital copy is free as well, although I do recommend getting these like beautiful glossy pages sent to you every single month.
I love a magazine. Like there's just something about it that I love to I feel like I'm like wasting time, like sitting down and like, even if I just like turn the page, I just feel like, I look the time I have leisure.
It's so true. And that was exactly why I did it. It was a childhood dream. I went to school for fashion and PR because I wanted to start a lifestyle magazine, never did, because I got married so young and life just took over. But I brought it to life because that was exactly my visual. I'm like, what if she's in her silk robe in the morning, sipping her coffee in her beautiful mug, and she's got these beautiful glossy pages and she's flipping through and she's learning about business and she's inspired about lifestyle and she's meeting gurus and moguls, and all of these resources are being presented to her. Like that was literally the visual. So that's what I created. So that is probably my favorite thing on earth.
I love it so much. Okay. We'll make sure all the links are in the show notes.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, what bold, executable, intrinsic, targeted steps can our listeners take to be it till they see it?
So I would say we go back to what we just said, you and I both, of that confidence. They're seeking the confidence, they're seeking the readiness. They want to know, like, should I do this? Should I not? I don't know. And they're wavering so much in their potential and their capacity and what they're being called to do. And people are praying for you. Like that's the honest to God truth. We have to remember this. We have to take ourselves out of the equation sometimes. Remember, whatever it is you're thinking about doing, whatever that is, somewhere in the world, someone's praying for you, that answer, that gift, that service, that product, whatever it may be. So take yourself out of the equation and go forward and serve the people, like literally make it available for someone whose life could potentially be drastically changed. And when you do that, then you will feel confident. Then you'll start to feel ready because the evidence will start showing up for you. But you've got to make that bold, audacious move first. Stop waiting for life to show and prove to you that you're ready. You show life and business that you're ready.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm like, it's the end of my workday and I'm like ready to take it on again. Oh my gosh, Jen, this is way too much fun. We'll have to do this again. I have to, our worlds have to collide another time because you're just so wonderful. I am so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Everyone, how are you going to use these tips in your life? What was your favorite takeaway? Tag Jen, tag the Be It Pod, and let us know. And then share this with a female friend of yours who needs to hear it, who needs to be reminded that they are amazing already, who they are. And we don't have to go around becoming more masculine or more feminine. We actually just have to dive in a little bit more into what we want to do and why we want to do it. So thank you. And until next time, be it till you see it.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast.
One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Beit Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Kroll.
It is produced and edited by the epic team at Diseño.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals and Samena Velazquez for our transcriptions.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all the content to our website, and finally to Meredith Kroll for keeping us all on point and on time.